Hey guys, Savage Joy here with Real Progressives. Tonight I am welcoming back someone freaking awesome who I adore to pieces, Mr. Graham Elwood. You guys know him as a comedian and an outspoken progressive, and also someone who has a YouTube show, The Political Vigilante. So thank you so much for joining me again, Graham.
My pleasure, Joy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this week has been insane. We had a bit of big news on Tuesday. I was a little happy about it. Just a little. What was your, did you think that Bernard was going to announce?
Yeah, I actually did a video about a month ago for Political Vigilante. I read this article where they interviewed a bunch of former Bernie staff members from the 2016, and they basically said he's doing everything that you do to lead up to announce. And I was like, it makes perfect sense. And there's nothing to gain by announcing early, like the beginning or December or beginning of January. There's nothing really to gain. So I think he was like, let's let all the real contenders announce. And we'll see who the media is going to pick, which is obviously Kamala, because she's in line with the Wall Street, the military industrial complex, and she'll bail out the banks and the private prison industry and all the other fine institutions that seem to want more of the same. And I think it was a smart tactic. I mean, also, he and Tulsi Gabbard had a meeting before she announced, and that they talked about this. So my guess was she went, I'm gonna go announce and try to, and be as left as I can, because she's pretty left on many, many issues. And, whether it was their strategy or not, they are witnessing the corporate media's complete anointment of Kamala Harris and the complete shunning of Tulsi. So just flat out shunning her. So I think, Bernie was like, okay, good. Now I know where I stand and who's what. And I know, and they're already, the same tactics. I'm sure Bernie's campaign came over on the Bering Strait on a Russian dog sled or whatever.
I saw you posted that, and I was like, yeah, I mean, we're all Russians. Granted, I'm still waiting for Putin to explain why he let us lose the primary, but I assume he'll get to us anyway.
Right. He'll have his big Burn Bro Russian summit, and we'll all go to it, and it'll be fantastic.
Yes. My real name is Svetlana, by the way, guys. Svetlana Brushki.
Yeah, that's what Graham Elwood is actually an Irish for Kremlin puppet. So that's
that's awesome. Now that I know you're Russian, I love you even more.
Right? Isn't it? So you can just have borscht and just, sabotage the American empire. It's pretty fantastic.
Don't tell them how many rubles I gave you to be on here. Don't tell them. So I haven't even drank yet today. I just got home from work, but I'm just like happy it's Friday. So as far as Tulsi goes, sometimes people think that she may be running to also have a second progressive voice on the stage, and then she will then give her delegates to Bernard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, there's basically two progressives now. There's Tulsi and Bernie, and you've got Elizabeth Warren, which is sort of a fake progressive, in my opinion. And then you've got all the corporate folks. So, they're already trying to block Tulsi from being in the debates. I mean, they just have no, they're not even coy about it. And I think the thing I've noticed, and I had this conversation when I did an interview with Tim Black on Political Vigilante, and Tim actually has more hope this time around, because he's pointing out that he's just noticing more people are waking up to just the I think more sort of people who weren't paying as much attention 2-3 years ago, and people who said stuff like, oh, I like Bernie, but he's too radical or he's too out there. Now those things that like Green New Deal and single payer health care, those aren't coming from Bernie and Jill Stein. Now they're coming from Alexandria Ocasio, a Democratic congresswoman, and they're being talked about on Fox News. And people and the question of like, how are we going to pay for it, which is always the go-to, that is even being the veil is being brought off of that, where I was like, well, no, we're not asking anyone to ask how we're going to pay for the rockets to Syria. No one's asking that. And I think more Americans are waking up to this. I mean, you're even seeing, I guest hosted Aggressive Progressives on TYT in January, and Dave Anthony, who's a good friend of mine who does the podcast, The Dollop. And that show has gotten wildly successful, and he does a lot of live shows. And he told me, he goes, Graham, I've had a lot of like people say to me, I was a lifelong Republican who is now coming more over to socialism because it's just,
Absolutely.
So I think, we're in a lot of people are like, oh, the Democrats are going to screw over Bernie again, which is it's a valid concern to have. I feel like there's no way they could get away with it again without just a mass protest and mass exodus.
Yeah, and I'm cool with doing that again. If I have to, I will go again. Because I was at Occupy DNC. There were thousands of us. We marched in over 100-degree weather for 6 days. We walked, over 8 miles a day. I passed out from heat exhaustion. And I broke the soles on my shoes the first day, and I had to buy a $1.99 pair of flip-flops at CVS, which was not comfortable marching in, and all that fun stuff. But, it was so necessary, and it felt so good to be with other people, not just burners, but people who were disgusted that democracy was dying. Like, it was like, I know it's rigged. I know what's going on. I see you all out there. They literally had snipers on the roof pointed at us. Like, I'm not kidding. It was so fucked up. And, I was spit on. I was told to go kill myself. Like, it was so ugly. But at the same time, it was beautiful because we were all comforting each other because it was the hardest week. So I don't doubt that will happen again if it needs to. The thing with, Bernard running, and of course, millions of us want him to win. The thing is, though, it's so advantageous anyway, because if people think that these issues are going to get discussed without that man being on the stage, not going to happen. He's the one that set the precedent. He's the one that made all these things household terms. So if people think him not being there and like Amy Klobuchar is going to go up there and be like, who's already denounced free college and Medicare for all and, supports, fracking and all this stuff, you think that's going to get talked about with like her and Kamala? Not a chance. So at the very least, we have someone with decades of track record who's going to be on that stage, who's going to be bringing up the issues to hold the other people accountable.
Well, that's the issue. That's what this is. I think, 2016, Bernie did a fantastic job of showing what was possible, what was capable. And the minute he's announced, he's already like breaking fundraising records, and people are just like, because if he's not on the stage, it's just going to be the identity politic platitude festival where they're just going to say, look at us, we're women or we're people of color and we've got to stop Trump. They won't be talking about the fact that 60% of Americans don't have $500 to $1,000 in savings. They won't talk about there's still contaminated water in Flint, Michigan.
Right.
They won't talk about this new pipeline. I just did a video on it that they're proposing through Texas.
Right. I saw it.
They're not going to talk about the military budget. They're not going to talk about oligarchs. Bernie Sanders is 3 days ago was talking about oligarchs.
Oligarchy.
Yeah. Like
millionaires and billionaires.
so it's like, and it's so funny. All of their stuff gets their hypocrisy gets shown out. They're all about inclusion and everything else, but not the old white guy. He's too old and he's too white. And it's like, wow, what happened to all of your inclusive lovey-doveyness? And I think, there's a year and a half of running. There's a year and a half of presidential campaigning here. So there's a year of primaries that are going to happen and all this other stuff. So, and his fundraising is just like, what? You think you can't compete with that? And he's got no corporate money. It's just.
Yeah. And we're all a bunch of basement dwellers who want free stuff. And we gave him all that money. I mean, it's really incredible because they're missing the point. It's not just about money. Like, this is about, I believe it was over 300,000 individual people who are that inspired to give, who love humanity that much to give, who believe in this movement that much to give. It's not about the money. It's the symbolism behind every single donation. And that is extremely threatening. They won't acknowledge it, but
yeah. Well, it's also too, like we're finally, there's no anti-war movement on the left, which is pretty sad. And we're finally starting to just be upfront about that. It can't just be Medea Benjamin, who I think is a badass, and everybody at Code Pink, they're just badasses, but it's gotta be, the Women's March, look, Mother's Day was invented during World War I because mothers of all of these dead soldiers got together, and it was really an anti-war movement. It wasn't buy mom flowers and candy. It was like, our sons are dying for this war. Wall Street was, the World War I was called the Wall Street War. And, so we've got to stop all of this, and then when you see John Bolton just going on Fox News flat out saying we need to go to Venezuela to get their oil, he's not even hiding it. He's not even saying truth and freedom and justice, and he's just like, they got oil, we need to get it. And I think more people, we're just on the left, we just have to be not wavering off of basic human rights, which is livable wage, $15 an hour minimum, 20 to 25 in major cities where the cost of living is higher, free health care, some version, whatever it is, Medicare for all, or something where there's free health care in the richest country in the history of the world, free college tuition, and enough with the wars, like just enough. And the only the only two people really saying those things are Tulsi and Bernie.
Yeah, and damn it, I forget her name. I just ripped into her a few minutes before we got on the air, sarcastically, because I'm very sweet, you guys know. But I forget her last name, but she's a rep, and she came out and she said, Bernie Sanders does not speak for the Democratic Party. He condemned the coup in Venezuela. And she went off and said he does not speak for the Democratic Party. So you look through the comments, and you guys can see it on my Twitter page. Her name's very sing-song. I can't think of it. But you can, if you look through the comments, it's all her donations, oil companies, things like that. And it's just like, yes, you don't speak for the Democratic Party, because literally every single Democrat, including Tulsi, every single Democrat voted for Trump's $770 billion war budget at least one of the three times. Independent Bernie Sanders did not any of the three times. He also voted against the Iraq war. So yeah, he's not like a Democrat, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, he's not a real Democrat. I'm always like, thank God. Because if he was a real Democrat, he'd take money
Exactly.
from big pharmaceutical and the war machine and everything else. He'd be actively trying to crush Medicare for all. So I don't want him to be a Democrat.
Exactly. And God, I wanted him to run independent so desperately, but I knew he wouldn't. And I understand why. But what are your thoughts? Why do you think he's running them?
Well, I think, Cornel West and Chris Hedges said he missed an opportunity in 2016 when they stole the nomination from him to run as an independent then in 2016. I wish he would have. I wish he would have taken up Jill Stein's offer. At the time, I think he thought, oh, I don't want to be like Ralph Nader because he likes being on these committees and all this other stuff, which, he does a decent job with that, and he knows how to be an effective politician. I think this time, what my guess is, and maybe it's more of just a hope, or maybe I'm being naive, I don't know, but I think if the Democratic Party screws him over this time and they just put Kamala, I think he and Tulsi or Nina Turner or something say, we're running as independents, we're done. I really think this time they will let it happen, because I think too much of us real, true progressives will just not take it. We're just going to not take it. So I think he will run as an independent, and what he'll do as an independent, and this is the thing that Democrats can't, they can't fathom this because they don't know how to think this way, is one of the things he's going to do is he's going to pull moderate Republicans. He's going to pull the like crazy neo-Nazi Trump or die folks. They're a small percentage of the population and a small percentage of Trump supporters. There's a lot of people. I mean, 85% of the people that voted in 2016 for either Hillary or Trump said they did it as lesser of two evils. There are Absolutely. A lot of people who are like, Trump, I just didn't want to see Hillary. I don't like the Clintons. And they're smart enough. They're waking up to the fact that Trump has not been the guy that they said he was. His tariffs have hurt farmers. They've hurt. Now he's talking about new tariffs that will hurt the car industry. And I think they're like, he gave a $1.5 trillion bailout to his rich buddies. And I think a lot of these working class folks that voted for him to shake up the system are seeing it's not really doing that. And I think Bernie would come through with a far more unifying, positive message. Both Bernie and Trump ran as populists in 2016. Trump ran a very more, xenophobic, racist version that just scared off a lot of people. And Bernie comes in with a far more inclusive version. The guy that spoke at the town hall right after the election in West Virginia that had all these coal miners going, I didn't
Exactly.
that. He's going to connect. And the Democrats, none of these Democrats can connect to those people. None of them. They don't know how to.
Right.
Because they're the ones who tell those people, oh, just go to college. Just rack up $200,000 in student loan debt and you're deplorable. And they can't understand why they don't connect with them. And
right.
Bernie will. And if the Democratic Party screws him over, he absolutely needs to run as an independent.
He has to.
He has to. He can't let this happen again, because a centrist will lose. It's so insane to listen to people say, I mean, we made fun of it. Jimmy Dore, when we did that live version about showing the Barry Weiss interview on Joe Rogan, where Barry Weiss, a journalist for the New York Times, was like, we got to run a centrist. And Jimmy just started saying, gee, I wonder if there was an example of doing that, running and we all started laughing because they ran a centrist against Trump and they lost. So why would you do that again?
Cognitive dissonance. They think we have gotten so desperate because we're in such a clusterfuck that this time we'll fall in line. Mm-hmm. But in reality, we're even more pissed off. And I am prouder every day that I wrote Bernard in, because look, if I sold my soul and that chick still lost, I would have been like the biggest bitch in the entire world, like for the rest of my life. Like I would just hate myself. So Yeah, I mean, like, and why would I go back on that? And that's how a lot of us feel. Like, why would we didn't do it before? Why would we sell out now?
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is so many people, myself included, I've gone harder to the left in the last 2 years because I'm just like, I'm done. I'm watching capitalism. I would never call myself a socialist 3, 4 years ago. Now I'm just like, I'm all for it. I'm
Yeah,
capitalism. I joined the DSA in Los Angeles, and I've been talking about it openly, that just capitalism has is cruel. It pits us against each other, and the only people that are mocking socialism are the corporatists that are benefiting from it. They're just the people that are the millionaires and the billionaires are the only ones you know going against it. So
absolutely. I totally agree. It's gonna be so interesting to see who else announces and who drops. I feel like Kristen Gillibrand is like nowhere except when that woman, did you see the clip of when that woman walked by her and she's like, I just need some ranch. They were in a
no,
restaurant
I
and
just
she goes, like, didn't even laugh. The entire restaurant laughed. But she's just like stank eye. I was like, dude, lighten up. That shit was hilarious. But yeah, she's just very no personality, and what was interesting was when they were comparing all the donations the first 24 hours, what was interesting is Elizabeth Warren only got $300,000. But it's kind of interesting because it's like, well, I mean, and here's the thing: she is the 1%. Where she drunk her beer, where she drunk her beer, drank, is a $3.4 million home. So, can we trust that she'll fight for us? I don't.
no
She's
she
already walked back on Medicare for all.
she walks back on everything. I mean, she's just the quintessential. She's a left-leaning centrist. So she looks, compared to them, she looks super left and progressive, but she is right of any real progressive issue. And this is a woman who, in October of 2017, was one of only 5 Democrats to sign an additional $80 billion to Trump's war machine that he didn't even ask for. She just did that. That's her resist Trump. That's who she really is. And I just, you know, I always equate that speech where she's reading the riot act to, this is summer of 2017 or whatever, to that CEO of Wells Fargo, calling him out, and that went viral. And look at Liz, she's tough as nails. The guy, they didn't do anything. She walked out of there with $124 million severance package. And I've seen people like, well, what's she supposed to? I go, she's the Senate. Are they supposed to? That's what that committee's all about, putting people in prison. Instead, you just see that it's just the kleptocracy. Their little kangaroo court for oligarchs. They're little like, you're gonna get a little slap on the wrist, and what you did was bad, and we're gonna. Yeah, it's like, I always say, man, you want to pay me $120 million to get yelled at in the Senate? Somewhere where I'll go right now. You can say whatever you call. I'll take my shirt off. You can spank me. I don't care. You can ball. You can
tar and feather me. I'm down. I will take it.
Whatever, man. Get a guy. I don't care. Put me in an S&M outfit. I don't care. Whatever. 120 million.
Maybe that could be your thing. Elizabeth had the beer. Beto had the teeth cleaning. Sure. That could be yours. I really don't want to see anyone on the toilet. Like, that's where I draw the line. Or like, if Biden announces and like shows a colonoscopy or something, like, I'm done. I give up on politics forever. Yeah. But do you think that Biden will run? I think he's gonna.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to. And it's funny, Nico House posted this very funny thing on Twitter. He goes, when Biden announces We should all say that because he's a year younger than Bernie, say he's too young and immature to be in the White House.
And it'll be his fourth try,
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Yeah, he was there for 8 years of incremental Obama centrism and bailing out the banks and 2 million deportations and 5.2 million foreclosures and 2 wars to 7. Joe Biden was there for all of that. So I just, nope.
Oh, Biden?
Yeah, oh, Biden. We'll just call him. Sure.
You said oh, Biden on purpose? That's freaking amazing. Why did I never think of that? Yeah, Creepy Joe. Like those photos, I feel like if anyone else did those things, it would be not okay. They're just disgusting. And he just gave like a Medal of Freedom to W. What the hell is that?
It just shows you what it really is. He's just, it's the Carlin line. It's a big club and you ain't in it. And Biden and W are all hanging out at the same club, man.
Yep. And I miss George Carlin every fucking day because I swear he was like Nostradamus. If you look at his quotes, it is uncanny. It's like he saw 2016.
Oh, he saw it happen. He called it. He was calling it for years. I mean, for decades, he was calling it. Like, it was...
Absolutely.
He was impressive. And when he was doing shows, in his 60s or whatever, there was young people going to his shows. It wasn't this like old... It wasn't just a theater full of old lefties, old hippies from the 60s. No, it was like young people in their 20s and 30s and some teenagers who were just like, yeah, and this guy was speaking the truth, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Kennedy, that's a really good way to describe it. A political circle jerk. I dig it. I'm going to make that a shirt with that.
I'll wear it on stage. You give me a shirt, I'll wear it on stage, Joy.
That'd be awesome. I think it's even funnier as a girl to do it, though. It's
yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean... So people in the comments are obviously bringing up ageism. I think, although I've seen so much anti-Semitism, it's incredible. Like, oh my freaking God. So we have ageism, we have anti-Semitism. These things are rampant in, posting about Bernie. I saw someone say that someone should cut his finger off because he sticks it up too much and he's sexist. It's just, it's so gross. And, constantly being told sexist and racist for supporting him. So, we've all done threads of the whole Bernie bro, and there are just countless people of color and LGBTQ, and they're erasing them and saying they're invalid.
They don't exist. They don't exist. The only Bernie supporter is the white male, the younger millennial white male. And it is so offensive. And it shows you this is the thing. When someone has just the better policy, the better platform, when 70 to 80% of the country wants free healthcare, they want free college tuition, they want student debt forgiveness. They want corporate money out of politics. They want gun control. I mean, on down the line, they want us to get out of all of these wars. You can't argue with that. You can't say, well, I don't want people to have free health care. I don't want to stop doing war. So you have to concoct all of this ridiculous nonsense. And it's like, you criticize Kamala Harris, you're sexist and racist, but you're not automatically called anti-Semitic when you criticize Bernie, because his staff and his supporters are like, no, that's not the issue. That's such a cheap way out to just say, if you don't like Bernie, you're an anti-Semite, but they have no problem doing that. All these other people,
sure.
They have no policy. You can't, what is better than that? Tell me how in the wealthiest country in the history of the nation, why we shouldn't have free healthcare, free college tuition, and we could we need to address climate change. And right now, the climate is collapsing, and the United States military is the greatest polluter of the environment. We're bombing poor people. Like, where you so you want to keep bombing poor? Like, you have no answer to that if you're a centrist,
right? And I think that's what it comes down to. Like, essentially, if you're voting for a candidate who does not want universal health care, whether you need it or not is moot. If they don't want it, if they don't want free college tuition and trade school, if they don't want a Green New Deal, if they don't want to get money out of politics, if they don't want lower prescriptions, you vote for someone who doesn't support these things. Are you not responsible for the deterioration of, humanity that's already occurring?
It's amazing to me especially when they call him sexist, right? And when women online are saying this, and I'm always like, well, women healthcare costs more money because you were born with the pre-existing condition of being female. So women, should be the top of the list for feminist issues of like free healthcare. And all of these poor women and working class women, women of color, women of all different ethnicities who's don't have health care or don't have access to free or affordable health care, and they just charge women more money because they're women. It's preposterous. So for you to say you're against that, it's like, so you're then against the inequities of health coverage towards women. So you want it to still be uneven and more expensive? I don't get it. Right.
It's more important to get a woman in office. Granted, she won't do shit for women, but yay, vagina 2020. That's what matters. Like, I mean, it's so disgusting. I'm glad I'm a woman because I get to call them out. You know what I mean? Like, as a man, I see my male friends just like, oh, fuck, I really want to say something right now, but it'll be mansplaining or, you know what I mean? I get called sexist all the time, and I'm like, okay, I guess I am then, because I'm siding with the fellas on this, because, it's so incredible. I'm seeing comments. Nina Turner, I have been burn and turn 2020 for 2 years. That to me is ideal. Bernie did come out 2 days ago and state his VP would be a younger woman. That he said. So to me, automatically, I'm thinking Tulsi or Miss Nina.
It has to be either one of them. There's a lot about Tulsi I like. I have some questions, like her 2014 when the CIA torture report came out, and she's like, oh, I don't know. And that makes me go, ooh.
That bothers me.
On her website, I did a video on this that sounds a little vague about dealing with terrorism that could lead us down this sort of never-ending drone strike war thing that Obama started. I'm doing more research on the Hindutva and the Hindu nationalists. I did a video on that. That seems to be a very controversial subject, but it bears some more investigation, I think. So there's also way more things about Tulsi that I do really like. She's very anti-interventionist, but if I had to choose, I would go Nina Turner all day, all night, because she's just like,
she is fire.
She's fire. She does not, but you want to talk about someone's going to fire people up? Get her talking. I did a video recently that thing she said a week or two ago on CNN. She's like, oh, I'm done with this. Like, saying Trump is the cause of racism. Like, she goes, there's racist Democrats. She's just like, she cuts to the chase in a way that nobody else can. Like, for real, only a black woman can talk like that and just boom. And
she owns people.
Owns them. And it's like, and you got to have, I do think there's so much ageism about Bernie. The ageism aside, you have to ask, when a president or presidential candidate is in their mid to late 70s, you got to have a younger VP, I think, because it's a legitimate issue. Like, we don't live forever. And, the he's too old to run the White House. That's ageism. That's bullshit. Like he's all there. We can see it. But you should have, and having a younger woman is like, then all of that Bernie's racist and sexist. If it's Nina Turner, it's like, so that answers all of your identity politic, hand wringing. But more importantly, policy wise, she is on the case. I mean, she's the one who last year said, I talk to people in Ohio and New York and all, they don't care about Russia. They care about paying their bills. They care about clean water. Like she's just going to get shit done as the VP. And then I'm just like, great. And then she'll be president. Like, awesome.
That exactly. And I love when people talk about his age. They're like, by his second term, he'll be, and I'm like, yes, he's going to have a second term. Yes! Score. But I mean, and I hate to be morose because I love Bernard so much. But like, give me someone progressive for 3 years who's changed millions of lives and then give me their VP choice rather than give me another centrist for, eons and eons. Like, we need change now. And he's going to implement it, and he's inspired countless people. So, I mean, I'll take him. I saw there was this one lady yesterday who was talking about how he wears wrinkled clothes. I was like, yeah, and it's fucking amazing.
Right?
It's punk rock. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, he doesn't own home, and it's awesome. Well, maybe you should ask Amy Klobuchar for his comb.
I saw somebody, they were like, there was this fake, what was a thread? It was hilarious. It was like a joke thread about uncovering that Bernie's secretly rich because there's photos of him with two different jackets. It's just like, he's got these like, jackets. They're not at all, and he's just, and then someone posted, a third jacket emerges, and there's like a third jacket. He's giving some speech in the cold. It's just like,
yeah. The one time I talked to his son Levy on the phone, I think it was the last time we talked. He's like, that black jacket he wore all the time was $19.99 at Costco. I was like, exactly. Dude has holes in his shoes. Okay, he wears unmatching suits. Didn't even wear a tux for his wedding. I mean, I have this post that said, Bernie and Jane on Valentine's Day went to a bar in a hotel. They split an appetizer of wings and got water and tea. Like,
yeah, the guy, he's looked like he's 75 years old since the early 80s. So he's just like,
which is how he's endearing because. When I first, started watching him and everything, I saw Martin O'Malley and I was like, you know what? Martin O'Malley's fucking hot. And if he said the things Bernie did, I'd tell him he was full of shit. Yeah. I wouldn't believe it. But here's this dude who really doesn't give a shit about aesthetics. And he's talking like he could have retired 12 years ago, but instead he's still fighting for our asses, even the ungrateful ones. I mean, it's like, I mean, he has his flaws. He's a human being, and I will never, I won't hesitate to call him out. I have countless times, but I mean, there is no comparison, especially for going back decades.
There's nobody that's been this popular because we've had nobody truly run with populist progressive platforms. I mean, Obama kind of, he tricked me. I voted for him twice. I thought he was going to be like, in 2008, I thought he was going to be this new FDR. I really thought he was going to come in. I was like, wow. And I really believed in the guy. But he had no track record, whereas Bernie has a very impressive track record of voting for people's rights across the board. So it's kind of, and all the other candidates, most of them have track records that say otherwise.
Well, and I posted something on Obama yesterday and today. Did you know Obama actually campaigned for Bernie when he was running for Senate?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, there's videos of it. I saw it like 2 years ago when people were attacking him, and promoting Hillary. I was like, oh, yeah, you like Obama? Here's him campaigning for Bernie
Right.
in Vermont. But I posted something yesterday and today. There's a video of Obama. It's on my Twitter where he's complimenting Bernie, and it's 2016, and saying the only one who has stood for such and such things is Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, holy fuck, this leaked. Like, there's no way he wants us out here. Let's share the fuck out of it. But it's pretty incredible because did you notice, like, what was your reaction when Bernie went to the White House that one day and came out? Did you notice how he just like all the fire just drained from him?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you see the reality. It's hard to speculate on that, but who was it? Harry S. Truman said that the Oval Office was the crown jewel of the United States penal system. It's like it's I don't know. I think the realities of that job, like you saw, I mean, all of it, even Trump, when he went in there and met with Obama on the day they switched power, you saw Trump like, oh, like, yeah, this ain't a campaign trail anymore, dude. Like, it's for real.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you've seen the way Obama went from like this handsome young man to like this old gray dude. And I mean, yeah, it's stress, but I think, don't you think that, how witty and smooth and, just a great talker Obama was, helped us fall for him and helped him get elected?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, I mean, I remember the Hope and Change speeches, and I really was like, wow, this guy, and I was starting to struggle financially and wanted to try to keep my home. And then I heard McKean and Crazy Moose Lady speak. And I was like, no, they're not. This is the old. And Obama was this like new, young, it was going to be so great. And then he just sort of did the bidding of all the big corporations like every other president.
No, absolutely. I mean, yeah. And then Obama came out for universal health care recently when he didn't have to do anything about it. That is just a slap in the face. That is so gross.
He had the House and the Senate. I'm so sick. Like, there's so much he could have done, and he didn't. And he didn't because the Democratic Party that gets all of its money from these big corporations is never going to let it happen. Obama could have done things that just drastically, he could have put us on the Green New Deal back then.
Absolutely.
He's done all this stuff, but he didn't. He didn't, and that's what the Democrats do. They're all token gestures. It's just they all are the coexist sticker on the Prius that flips you off in traffic. That's what the Democratic Party is, man. They're Goldman.
Resist.
Yeah, resist. They're Goldman Sachs with a rainbow flag. That's what they are. That's all they do.
So how is that resist working for us? How's that going? Because I feel like Trump is still doing the shit he wants to do, regardless of the hashtags. I don't think it's deterred him at all. Did you see how he was like, I like Bernie?
There's a part of Trump that probably doesn't want to be president anymore because he has to work. He wants to just go to Mar-a-Lago and, sit in a tanning salon and kill a prostitute or whatever he's going to do, where, he probably would love to just go be the reality TV star that he is and not have to do real work. I mean, they released his work schedule and it's all these like executive timeouts or whatever it is just for him. Right. And he's not doing anything. It's like George W. Bush just was like out there going, oh, shucks, while Cheney was, sitting there setting puppies on fire. So it's like, I bet you there's a part of Trump that hopes he loses so he can leave.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was thinking too, like, I wonder if, because he's like so freaking, such an an egoist. I was thinking if maybe like after the first term, if he just said, you know what, I'm done, because then he wouldn't be quitting and he wouldn't be losing. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be an easy out for him to just be like, I want to just kind of have a more private life and, make excuses. And then do you think he would do that? To me, that sounds more plausible.
Kind of, but he's such an egomaniac and a narcissist. I wonder if he could sustain that. But I don't know. He could suddenly just say, health issues or something and say, I can't do it.
I was thinking that too.
And he steps out and then it's Mike Pence versus Bernie, which would just be,
oh my God.
Bernie would eat his lunch. Bernie would it would be ridiculous. Because it'd be
oh my God.
A bunch of platforms that would help the majority of Americans versus wingnut, evangelical, shock the gay,
right.
He would.
Right. Is it true that you want electroshock therapy? That would be amazing. Well, remember when Bernie challenged Trump to a debate and Trump backed out? That's why when he posted about Bernie the other day, I was like, remember when Bernie challenged you to a debate, you agreed and then chickened out? Since he's running again, can we make that happen now? And of course, it got a lot of shares and stuff, but he didn't say shit. And in some way, I think he kind of respects Bernie because he's stepped to him from day one. He has never wavered. And I think Trump preys on that weakness of people. Like from day one, Bernie's like, you're racist, you're sexist, you're xenophobic, you're a pathological liar. And then Trump's like, I like Bernie.
Yeah.
Who do you think? I mean, I know we want Bernie to win, but who do you think can win against Trump?
It's Bernie, because I as I said before, because the populist platforms that he's running on resonate with huge portions of America, whereas the corporatists, I mean, they'll run the identity politic thing if it's Liz Warren or Kamala Harris or Cory Booker. They'll run resist, but how are they going to make people's lives better? They can't just run around and say, racism, sexism, you're bad. I mean, yes, Trump is those things, but you have to, it's the old adage, it's the economy, stupid. So you tell somebody, I'm going to make your lives better. I'm going to make you're going to have more money. You're going to have a better job. You're going to have health benefits. We're going to stop sending your sons and daughters over for these ridiculous corporate wars. There's going to be like 22 vets a day committing suicide is preposterous. From PTSD related to fighting for oligarchs. So, I mean, I don't see any other candidate on the Democratic side, aside from Tulsi. I mean, if Tulsi were to get, she has a shot because, I mean, look, she's a vet. She's a combat vet, which would resonate with a lot of, red state voters. And when she speaks, she sounds like a leader, man. She is an officer. She's a military officer, and you can tell. And I would follow her into battle. So,
do you think she can win against Trump, though? I don't
know. That's a really good question. I think honestly, Bernie is the most popular politician in America. So many people know him. And as we talked about earlier, he can resonate with working class people that are probably in red districts and reds. There's a lot of red states and red districts that voted for Bernie in the primary.
Oh, yeah.
So, excuse me, I think he's the one with the best shot. I don't know about anyone else.
I really agree. It's going to be interesting. Now you're in California. Well, now you're not, but you live in California. Graham's in a hotel room waiting for me. No, I'm just kidding. Um, he is on tour for his comedy shows, which is awesome. I'm hoping to get him and Ron in Harrisburg. So I've been like talking back and forth with Ron. But I digress. You live in California, so you are very familiar with Kamala, and many Californians aren't fans. So what is your take on her? Like, what would you vote for her?
Never in a million years, because she has done so many things. First of all, when she was, I just did a video on this, when she was district attorney in San Francisco, there was a huge pedophile priest case. They arrested a bunch of pedophile priests, and she wouldn't release the priests' names. And everybody, the prior DA asked for this, a judge asked for it. SNAP, which is a survivors of priests abuse organization, was like, release this. And her office made this ridiculous excuse of, well, we don't want to reveal the names of the victims. And it's like, we're not asking for the names of the victims. Reveal the priests. So she did that. She put so many, I was talking to Tim Black about this. He's like, man, she put so many brothers and sisters behind bars, it's not even funny. She put a lot of people of color behind bars.
And made money.
Yeah, and made money doing it. And so, she got money from the private prison industry. When she ran for attorney general of the state of California in 2011, she got money from the private prison industry. She got money from Steve Mnuchin of One West Bank. And then when she was attorney general and they started prosecuting One West Bank, guess who didn't go to jail? Steve Mnuchin, right? And then he donated again to her campaign, her senatorial campaign in 2016. There's a speech of her mocking. People show up with these signs that say more schools, less prisons, more schools, less prisons.
Build more schools, less jails. Build more schools, less jails. So gross.
Mocks them. And she's like, well, I have to put 3 locks on my door. Hey, jackass, the whole point is if we had more schools and better education and jobs, there wouldn't be people committing crimes. Yep. Not to mention, the private prison industry needs convicts. So they get people like you to help create them. You were against recreational marijuana. She's just literally, if Hillary and Obama had a baby, it's just that's what she's just more identity politics. She's just another corporate. She'll expand the wars.
Oh God, yeah.
Expand the private prison. She'll put more people behind bars. She'll deport people. She'll do all those things. But we'll go, yay! Woman of color in the White House.
Why hasn't she signed on to Bernard's bill to end cash bail?
Yeah.
Because that is directly linked to people of color.
Absolutely.
She hasn't signed on.
She won't.
No.
She releases this offensive, like, I smoked weed and listened to Tupac and Biggie, and it's and that got literally uncovered because, like, you graduated in 86. They didn't hit the scene till 90 and 91.
And then that one guy was on Twitter and it blew up because he was talking about people used to sell mixtapes out of the trunk of their car before they were famous. As, dude, stop. Yeah. No, stop. That was not, like, I don't think she gets what pandering is, because that was just ugly, because it wasn't just pandering. It was like, I threw people in jail for this, and now I'm going to laugh about how I did it. And I mean, that's just so wrong.
She's the private prison industry and the mortgage, the banking industry, they would love her to see her as president because they'll profit. So that's why CNN and everybody are pushing her so hard, because those companies buy a lot of ad time on CNN and MSNBC. Yeah. And in addition to Fox News. And so, it would be great for them.
And did you see Bernie's actual announcement video? It's like 11 or 12 minutes.
No, I didn't.
He actually addresses private prisons and stuff. I've heard him talk about it before, but it's interesting if you listen to it, because he kind of like addresses each person's weakness without saying their name, which is pretty amazing. So he's kind of planting the seed, because he's going to get called sexist and racist, but he has to go hard on the debate stage. Dude, if I was on the debate stage with Hillary, I would have verbally cut a bitch. Like, she would have been crying in the fetal position. And he was so classy and so respectful. And I just was like, tell her, you know? So he's going to have to be more assertive and more, just speak his truth.
Yeah, that's what he's going to have to do. What I would do too is just sit there with a counter, and every time one of the women interrupt him, just keep track of it. And then the one time he does it, and because that was Hillary was waiting, and then when he said, "Hey, wait your turn," oh, women wait our turn. You know, they couldn't wait for that. They were jumping on that. Just be like, all right, you've interrupted me 4 times now. So, and just keep track. Like every time he starts talking and they just put a little tally mark and just keep track and just stick hard and just go, no, the American people, you can play that card all and call. I think you come out swinging on that. Say, oh, they're going to try to call me too old and too sexist because they're afraid to talk about these policies. Just get that, just call that elephant in the room, you know, just say,
well, yeah. And I mean, and he doesn't, you know, say, woe is me, I'm too old, but you know, his brother's 83 and still serves in the UK Green Party at 83. They have good genes. But I posted today a story about how I interviewed Jeff Weaver, who is Bernie's campaign manager of 32 years. And Jeff was joking about how the college interns would be like running around just looking like wiped out. And they'd be like, when is a break? And he's like, Bernie doesn't take breaks. And they would just like look beat. And then he's the kind of person that stands at a desk and eats a sandwich like while standing and writing. He doesn't sit down. So it's almost like people have never seen this authenticity. So they are, you know, I don't know, maybe they're just not used to it and not just feel threatened by it, but like don't even understand how to comprehend.
No, because look, the Democratic Party, the corporate Democrats that run that party, they still think it's the 90s. I mean, they just still think we can kick these little political footballs back and forth. And it's like, no, man, we are running out of time. The climate is completely collapsing. We don't have time for this Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, incremental bullshit. Look, man, we are facing an extinction event if the climate collapses like they say that it is. So I don't really give a shit if your little corporate donor ears are offended, because I don't care, because like, you know, anybody in their 30s or younger is going to be living in a nightmare.
Absolutely.
So that needs to be addressed now. We have no more time for this shit. I don't fucking give a crap about your identity politics and your incremental centrism. I really don't give a fucking rat's ass about it.
Exactly. And, you know, it's funny because, I mean, you don't have kids, right? No. I don't want to be presumptuous. I didn't think so. Me either. And, you know, sometimes those of us without kids are the more like, I don't want this for future generations. Like, sometimes parents and grandparents are just like, yeah,
It's, you know, I don't have kids. I have 6 nieces and nephews, and they're all teenage and younger. And I worry what kind of world they're going to have, you know. And, you know, I was just reading a report that came from some scientists in the Antarctic about and they've been talking about this for several years now, is all the methane gas and the polar ice caps. And they melt at such a fast rate, and they keep melting faster than what they're anticipating. All this methane gas is going to get released almost at the same time, which is like a bomb, and can like literally zap our breathable air in a matter of months, years, years or less. and they're calling it the methane bomb. They're calling it like a grenade or whatever. And they're saying, one guy said there's an extinction event coming. Like it'll just wipe out life on this planet in like a short amount of time. And it's like, I don't have time for your bullshit weed smoking Tupac bail out the bank thing. We need to go now, today. No more fossil fuels, no more single use plastic immediately. You know, put every ounce of money into green energy and the research of it, because, you know, geoengineering, you know, all this, there's obviously some super smart people out there that might have some solutions or are close to finding solutions. They just don't have the research money behind it, because there's stuff we can't even dream of. There's stuff we're doing this right now, this video conference. I mean, this was like Star Trek stuff when I was a kid. This was like crazy sci-fi, and it's just something we can do on our phones. So if we put money and research into it, who knows what solutions that could literally reverse climate change, that could put the polar ice caps back in place. So we have those white, they're basically just white to reflect the sun. Like we could, there's so many things out there. And there's so much research and stuff that's already being done that just needs more money behind it. So the time is now. I don't have time for Kristen Gillibrand's whatever.
Yep, absolutely. What do you think about this? The other day I was thinking of something and posted it online. I think the reason why some people don't, like some candidates and reps don't want free college and healthcare and things like that are because it would stop people going into service.
Wow, I don't know. I mean, there's probably some truth to that, because, you know, we have a poverty draft. You know, we have economic conscription, basically. There's people who can't have no other choices, and so it's the military. It's either Walmart for $9 an hour or whatever, or the military. And if you join the military, boy, you got health benefits and everything else, and a pension. And you know, when I was performing for the military in Iraq in 2007 and 2008 and then 2011, I met so many people that said I literally re-enlisted for the money. They gave me a $20,000 re-enlistment bonus. There was no jobs back home. I just did this. So I think like that's a very valid reason. And it's why the other thing they don't want to, if you look in France, all this coordinated yellow vest protest, because they have free government health care. It's hard to consider protesting when you get your health care from your job. So you're less likely to go on strike because your kid has asthma or whatever. You have some whatever. You just can't afford it. You can't afford it. So you're less likely to go on strike. So if everybody has universal health care and all this other stuff, they're gonna protest more.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm just scanning through these comments.
I gotta do it soon because I gotta do a show tonight. So.
Oh yeah. What time is your show?
My show's at 8:00. I have to do another interview soon.
Awesome. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I love having you on. Guys, I'm going to try to do a show Monday night after Bernie's town hall. Friday, I'm having a pretty intense surgery, so I'm not sure what, if I'm going to be like doing any shows or on medical hiatus, because I haven't been feeling so hot. But I will go live if I can, hopefully Monday night. Katie Halper messaged me last night, and she wants to come on, so that should be cool.
Awesome.
Vermin Supreme is coming on. Mike from the Humanist Report wants me to come on as well. So lots of stuff to look forward to, thankfully. But, okay, I can stay on, you guys. That's fine. Yeah, I could stay on. So thank you so much, Graham.
Yeah.
I adore you. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
And just thank you again. I just adore you to pieces. Oh, and if you guys haven't watched Graham, one of my teammates put his link in the comment section.
Oh, thank you.
So check out his videos as well. He's like me, but with a penis, kind of.
That's the title of my show.
Like Joy.
Like Joy, but with a penis. Yeah, that's if you go to political vigilance.
Presumptuous, but you know what I mean. Well, thank you again. Much love. Sure. I hope to meet you in person one day.
Yeah, we'll see when we do the Progressive Comedy Tour in June on the East Coast. Hopefully we'll meet, and anybody... Any of your fans want to go to GrahamElwood.com, and you can follow me at all the social media and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Well, take care, Graham. Much love.
All right, sweetie.
Bye.
Bye.
So, God, I adore that man. Anyway, that was very inappropriate of me. Like, really inappropriate. Which, you know, is me. So anyway, so so bad. As far as coming out to Harrisburg, I'm not sure yet. I've been talking to Ron. We're looking for a place. So I'm hoping. So I've been kind of talking to a few places for them and things like that. So. Hell, if I can get them here, they can crash with me, and like that'd be amazing. Or even Philly. Like, I don't care. I want to hang out with Ron again and Graham because they're awesome. But anyway, so it's something I don't know if you guys saw, but love you too. One of the things that's blowing up the interwebs right now is just really funny, but it's actually on a deeper level. It's kind of not. And I saw some comments about it here. Klobuchar, you know, her behavior to her staff is really abhorrent. And, you know, there's been, you know, a lot of jokes today about, one of her employees not getting her cutlery for her salad. So she ate the salad with her comb and then made the associate clean the comb. And you know, there was an article about her throwing a stapler. She actually for years and years and years, she has had the #1 staff turnaround rate. And which is, I'm sorry, that's indicative of problems. If you like her staff is turned over continuously more than anyone else for years. There's articles stating that you know, from women stating that they would go home crying because she would belittle them. There was another article today stating that she told one of her young women associates, "I would trade 3 of you for a bottle of water." She's a bully. She is an absolute bully. And on social media, you know, people are getting attacked for calling this out and saying how it's inappropriate, and behaving like that is you know, basically a power erection. It's just like, I'm in charge, you're not. So I'm going to do this to you, and oh well, like if you want a paycheck or you want this on your resume, then deal with it. So to me, that is so indicative of her personality. And, you know, lack of a better term, if you can't play well with others, that doesn't sit well with me. We hear things about, the way other candidates behave with their associates. I mean, okay, look, I'm not saying what happened wasn't fucked up, but okay, let's take Bernie. His, the volunteers who were sexually harassed. Okay, he never met a single one of them. He never went to a single one of those campaign offices. Okay, yet he met with them. He apologized to them. He's been ripped to shreds because of it. He made all these changes to where even as volunteers, we're going to have to sign documentation when we go to the the campaign offices. There's going to be things posted on the wall. We're going to have 800 numbers to even anonymously, if we want, report things that are going on incorrectly. These are the things you do when you're a leader. You do things to correct them. So talking about the things people do at a campaign office are valid when it's a man. They are not valid when it's a woman. This is what's happening. So it's sexist to tell her these things. However, and I'm not saying this is all of them in existence, but all of the things I have read about this bullying and harassment from her employees and volunteers have all been from women. So it's sexist to call out the fact that she's harassing and bullying women. How? How is that possible? She needs to be held accountable when somebody's saying they're going home crying every day because they're being told how worthless they are and things like that, if a guy did that, they wouldn't have it. But a woman is doing it, and it's totally fine. We're being sexist for holding her accountable for that. Now, the DNC has said we're going to have 12 debates. They said we were supposed to have 6 last time, and Queen Hillary cut him short because she said, well, I don't need to do them. Will we have 12? I doubt it. But they're supposed to start in June. Do I think these things are going to get addressed on CNN? Fuck no. That's why, as progressives, it is, imperative that we hold these people accountable and we call them out and say, this is not acceptable to treat people like this, period, let alone people who are working for you or volunteering for you. When you're holding, dangling a carrot over somebody's head and saying, if you want this experience on your resume, you better just put up with me, deal with it, or else I'll say you got fired and you can't use me as a reference and on your resume. That's disgusting. That's political blackmail. It's gross. So, and I digress, but Elizabeth Warren came out today, and there's all these things are on Twitter under my personal accounts, Savage Joy, Marie 1, I believe it is. If you don't follow me, please do. And if you don't follow Real Progressives on there, please do. Steve Grumbine is Austerity is Murder on Twitter, so please follow him as well. We have Jabari Morris. I see Rob Baxter, Lance. There's a lot of good people on our team, so definitely follow them. But anyway, so I have all this stuff posted there. But today, something came out about Elizabeth Warren. She's very, very supportive of Israel. She always has been. And today she came out with something that was really disturbing, where she basically, in so many words, basically said that she didn't really care about Palestinians, in so many words. So definitely check that out to see the actual verbiage that she uses. But that's very that's concerning that she has always been so supportive of Israel. What else? Well, we have oh, thank you. Okay, Lance is putting our links in there. There's mine and Steve's. I think that's pretty much it right now that I can think of off the top of my head. But thank you guys so much for watching. As I said, I'll try to be back Monday night after Bernie's town hall. It starts at 8. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 hours. But if you want to watch, absolutely join me. And I can even live tweet as it goes on. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please, if you don't follow Real Progressives on YouTube, please do. And I always forget to mention, but please also, if you donate even a few bucks to our Patreon, even monthly is even better. Steve and I make a lot of videos, and we make no money at this whatsoever. We actually spend money to do this, personally spend money to do this. So, any donations we get go to like internet stuff and stuff like that. There's no money in this at all. So I work full time and I still do like 3 shows a week minimum. But yeah, so Monday after Bernie's town hall, I'll be going live. It should be 9 or 10, depending how long it is. But thank you guys so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys Monday, and have an awesome weekend. Much love.